Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining the Primary and Secondary Contacts Navigating the High School Portal webinar today. My name is Amber Viles. I'm the Assistant Director of Communications for the NCAA Eligibility Center, and today I'm joined by my colleagues Brett Gordon and Bridget Goss. A few quick housekeeping things to note before we get started. Of course, yes, this webinar is being recorded. So while there's a lot of information we're going to cover today, you will be able to go back and watch the recording at your own pace. The email will also include a PDF of today's slide deck with clickable links. As noted on our previous slide, you can hear us and hopefully you can see us, but we can't hear or see you. So please use the Q&A function to ask us any questions throughout today's webinar. We have a full staff standing by, ready and eager to answer your questions live. So to start, Brett will discuss what primary and secondary contacts are, and we're also going to take a dive into the high school portal navigation with Bridget. Brett will come back on and discuss how to submit a fee waiver, and then I'll come on and discuss resources. Now I'm going to hand things over to Brett Gordon, the Assistant Director of Customer Service, and he's going to discuss the first part of today's agenda.
Thanks, Amber. So we'll start by talking about your high school or district account's primary, secondary contacts. So who are your school's primary and secondary contacts? Each school and district with an Eligibility Center account has one primary contact and one secondary contact. And while it's the high school or district's decision as to who they would like to designate as their primary or secondary contacts, we advise that that individual, whoever it may be, has ongoing access to curriculum, student records, and also the bandwidth to have ongoing engagement with the Eligibility Center. Typically, a primary, secondary contact would be a principal, assistant principal, superintendent, assistant superintendent, counselor, registrar, some individual with that title, because typically they would have access to curriculum and student records. Probably asking yourself, what are the responsibilities for a high school or district primary, secondary contact? Depending on your account access, and during this webinar, we'll treat account access as a cleared account status. So if you do have that cleared account status, you would be responsible for managing your high school's core course list, uploading official transcripts and proof of graduation for current and former students, attesting to fee waivers if requested, responding to any task that was assigned to your high school's account that has to do with a student's academic certification. You'd be able to view student reports as well as update your school's contact information. And again, responsibilities may vary depending on your account status or whether your high school is part of a district within the Eligibility Center. How you access the high school portal, you can visit eligibilitycenter.org, and in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a tab that says High School Administrators. You'll click that, and that will take you to the high school portal login page. And that, as a high school or a district, that's how you would navigate to the high school portal. As far as high school account access goes, each high school with an Eligibility Center account has one primary and one secondary contact. Login information is shared between contacts, so each account uses one unique password. Again, each high school determines what additional staff may have access to the account. So yes, while you do have a primary and secondary contact, other individuals at the high school may be provided login information. Again, that's determined by the high school as to who from the high school should have access to the account outside of the primary or secondary contacts. You just want to note that, again, it is a shared password, so whoever is logging into the account would use the same login information. And to log in, you would log in with your high school code, your NCAA high school code or SEEB code, as well as that unique password we talked about. Some high schools may have the same high school code and SEEB code. Other high schools may have a different high school code compared to their SEEB code. But again, you'd be able to log in with either or, and then you would log in with that one unique password that's shared between contacts. Similar to high school accounts, district account access, you would also, again, visit that same page to log in. You would simply click login as a district instead of a high school. And so each district with an Eligibility Center account has one primary and one secondary contact as well. Login information is shared between those contacts. the district would determine who else has access outside of those primary and secondary contacts. And logging in, you'd use that one unique password as well as a 4-digit district ID that would be provided to you by our high school review team if you do have a district account. And if you're unsure as to whether or not your high school is part of a district or unsure if your district has an Eligibility Center account, we would advise on reaching out to our dedicated line for high schools. We would be able to look into that for you and provide contact information. Or if you are a district that doesn't have an account and is interested in setting up an account, you can contact our dedicated line for high schools as well. So districts do or can have accounts with the Eligibility Center. So if your school district has, quite a few high schools in it, and those high schools share a unified transcript, unified curriculum, and or a unified grading scale, then it may be beneficial for your district to, if you don't already have one, to reach out to create a district account, just because that simplifies things a little bit. If students have attended multiple high schools within your district, once we receive a transcript for one of those from one of those high schools, that would populate the transcript receipt date for each high school that student has attended. And also, if you share curriculum, if you have a unified curriculum, then the district could manage the core course list for each high school within your school district. So again, if you're unsure if you're in a district or if your district has an account, feel free to reach out to our dedicated line for high schools and we'll be able to provide you with some of that information. Account access for new contacts. So if you don't know who your primary, secondary contacts are, you can look that up by visiting the high school portal and simply searching for your high school. You don't need to log in to view contact information. That is accessible without having to log in. So if you don't know who your primary, secondary contacts are, you can search via the portal, like I said. If you need to gain access to your account, let's say you're not a primary, secondary contact, you're new to the school, the former primary, secondary contacts are no longer with the high school, so you don't have access to the account. No one at the high school is able to log in to change your contact information. What you can do is submit either a high school contact change form or a district contact change form. That would be submitted for review. You would indicate on that form who should be the primary contact. The secondary contact, at least when you're submitting the form, would need to be either the principal for a high school account or superintendent for the district account. That information can be submitted for review. What we would do once we receive that form is confirm via your high school or district website, your staff directory, to confirm that both of those individuals appear on the directory and we're able to validate that contact information. So it's important when you are submitting that contact change form or district contact change form to ensure that your staff directory is up to date and accurate. If we're unable to confirm the contacts on the form based on your staff directory, we would not be able to make updates to the account. So very important that your staff directory is up to date and accurate. And again, you would only need to submit a high school contact change form or a district contact change form if you're completely locked out of your account and the current primary, secondary contacts are no longer with the high school. Contact information can be changed once logged into the account, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the webinar. Now I'm going to toss it over to my colleague Bridget, who's going to start with the high school portal navigation.
Thanks, Brett. As a primary and secondary contact, you play an important role in the initial eligibility certification process for your college-bound student athletes, and that requires frequent engagement with the high school portal. Our goal today is to highlight the information that can be found, as well as the actions that can be taken in each high school portal tab. Brett and I will be actively demonstrating the navigation of each tab and providing practical insights into its functionality. So let's talk about what we will be discussing today. Below, you'll see a list of topics that we will be going over. I will start with the home tab and the NCAA core course tabs, and then Brett will follow up with the rest. And just a quick heads up, if you want to access this information or you want to share it with others, you can find it in the high school portal quick start guide. And if you have your phone handy, you can go ahead and go right there, scan this QR code, and it will take you there. But for now, let's dive in and kick things off by talking about what you can find in the homepage of the high school portal. On the homepage, you'll find a hub for staying in the loop with crucial news and announcements. Chances are you probably found out about this webinar through an announcement on the high school portal. Another valuable feature is the option to subscribe to a high school eligibility center newsletter. And trust me, it's a recommendation worth taking up. It's filled with timely reminders, quick tips, and updates. Additionally, right here, you can also review or tweak your email settings, and we want to make sure that you're receiving our announcements. So let's take a moment, check to make sure that our emails are not going to spam. You can do that all on this page. All right, let's shift our focus to the NCAA core course tabs. When you're logged in and you hover over the NCAA courses, you'll encounter 6 core course tabs, each serving a unique purpose. The My High School's list of NCAA core course tab, the status of updates, submission history, and decision emails tab are designed for viewing only and contain important information. The Submit Updates to My High School's list and Submit Pending Course Documents tabs likely necessitate action on your end. In the coming slides, I'll summarize what can be found in each tab, and in some instances, take a brief moment to jump in and show the actions in the high school portal. Let's start with the My High School's NCAA core course tab. This is a view-only page that is visible internally when you are logged in, but it's also important to note that it's viewable externally, meaning others can view as well. On this tab, you can find your school's account status, your school summary, your grading scale, and core course information. Let's take a look at what this looks like on the high school portal. Okay, now that we're here on the My High School's NCAA core course page, I want to bring your attention to the following items. The first thing that you'll see here is your high school's account status. This indicates whether courses and proof of graduation can be used from your school. The next section that you'll see is the high school summary. This includes your school's address, your primary and secondary contact information, the date of your last core course list update, and I want to bring your attention to the high school information box. Sorry, I just needed to look down at my notes. The high school information box lists any information related to any online, blended, or other non-traditional programs that have been reviewed at your high school. So you will also see here that there are 2 programs that have been reviewed, and it includes information about how these programs are designated on transcripts, as well as if they meet NCAA core course legislation. All of this relates to if courses can be used in the initial eligibility certification process. The next section that we have here is grading scales. If there's nothing here when you're logged in, it means that there's no numeric scale or weighted grading scale on file. If your school does apply advanced weight to advanced level courses, the Eligibility Center has the potential to add this weight when you submit core courses for review, providing that it aligns with NCAA grading scale guidelines. And I'm going to go ahead and drop that information in the chat. The next section that we have is the core course information section. The core course requirement is put in place to ensure that students are taking college preparatory academic coursework that prepares them for 4 years at a university. In this section, you can view the status of courses that your school has submitted for review. Here, you will see that we have approved courses, not approved courses, archived courses, pending individual review courses, which we won't talk about much today, and additional information required. Approved core courses can be used in student certifications. It's important to make sure that you are looking at the notes as well as the max credit sections here, just to make sure that you understand if a course is duplicative when taken with another course, because only 1 credit can potentially be awarded. The next section that I want to talk about is the archived courses. The archived section is a list of courses that you have indicated are no longer taught, and these courses can still be used in the initial eligibility certification process. It's important to just keep this up to date so your student athletes know what courses are currently being offered. The next section I want to bring your attention to is the additional information required. So if we designate a course as additional information required, it's likely that we need additional documentation for review to determine whether the course satisfies NCAA core course legislation and criteria for review. The courses that are listed in this section are currently on hold. So right now you'll see film literature and sports literature. These courses can vary greatly from school to school. So these courses are currently on hold, and if no action is taken, courses in this category can't be used in the certification process. But if you would like to move forward with the review of these courses and have them potentially be approved, you'll follow the directions on the screen by submitting pending course documents. The next section or category of your core course list that I want to discuss is the not approved core courses. These courses do not qualify and cannot be used in student certifications. What's important to understand is that if we designate a course as not approved, we also assign a reason code that provides more information related to that decision. You can actually find out that information by hovering over the reason code here. So for this example, you'll see that English 2 is not approved, which might sound a little bit weird. But in this instance, this school currently has English 1 and English 2 CP already approved on their core course list. So this reason code says this course is not considered four-year college prep, and that was assigned because of the context of the school's list. Approved high schools can update their list at any time via the high school portal, unless you're part of a district that's notified as being in a unified curriculum, which we will demonstrate next. As mentioned, a major role of primary and secondary contacts is to keep your core course list up to date, unless you're part of that unified curriculum within the Eligibility Center. The following two tabs relate to managing your core course list and likely necessitate action on your end. For the Submit Updates to Your School's List, this is where schools submit titles for the first time after they've received a decision, but also where schools can submit updates to their existing lists. The second type of core course review is submitting pending course documentation. So in some instances, we can review courses on title alone, and that happens by submitting updates to your list. And in other instances, we review core courses by reviewing the documentation that you've provided. Let's take a look at what the Submit Updates tab looks like in the high school portal. On the Submit Updates to My School's List tab, you can add new course offerings, archive courses that are no longer taught, change the titles of existing courses if necessary, and also add science labs to courses. Let's take a look at what this might look like. So we're going to take a look and we are going to add a new course offering here in English. So we'll click here. The title that we are going to add is Environmental Lit. Another action that I want to take with my core course list is I would like to archive a title. So we're hoping to offer Environmental Lit next semester, and we will be archiving graphic novels because that course will be no longer taught. So I will go find graphic novels and hit archive. So we've archived a course and we've added a course. The next section or the next action that I want to take and demonstrate is changing an existing course title. So in this instance, in social science, I'd like to change the existing name for psychology. So I will select change, and over and to the right, I will insert the change title. So in this instance, we are going to call this abnormal psychology. The content hasn't changed for the course. We've just changed the name to be more specific. The next thing that you can do in the high school portal is you can add or remove labs to existing approved core course titles. So in this instance, you'll see that biology and chemistry are approved on my core course list. Chemistry is marked as having a lab, but biology isn't. So to change that, I will select change. I will retype the name of the course, and to the right, I will select lab. So you've seen how we add courses, archive courses, change titles, and add labs. If by chance you see that you are not able to take any action on a course, so in this instance, personal finance is not approved, that means that you won't have the option to select change or archive. And to find out more information about that decision, you can go back to your core course list and hover over that reason code. So once I've made the updates to my list, what I will do next is I will go down here and I will continue to next step. This will almost provide me with a receipt-like page of the actions that I've taken. You can print it or screenshot it for your records just to kind of keep track of what you've done. And then you continue to next step and you follow the directions and you provide information regarding authorizing your core course submission. This will generate a submission for us to review, and it's usually reviewed within 24 to 48 hours, but there's only two people who review core courses, so I can tell you that it's often done a lot quicker than that. As I mentioned earlier, there are two different types of core course reviews. The second part necessitates you uploading core course documents for review. So on the Submit Pending Course Documents tab, this is where you can upload core course documents for review for courses that are listed in that additional information required section of your core course list. You also can submit core course documentation for review if you believe that one of the following not approved reason codes was misapplied. Let's take a look at what it looks like to submit pending course documents in the high school portal. Here we have the tab where you can submit additional information for core courses. It's important to note that you have 60 days from the decision to submit the information. Again, as I mentioned, often you can submit core course documentation for review if you believe the NCAA Eligibility Center staff misapplied a reason code or gave a not approved decision that you don't agree with. After that time is expired, though, you must resubmit the core course via the core course submission process. So what I would like to show you down here is these are the courses listed as not approved or as additional information required. Again, you can find out more information when you hover over the reason code. So in this instance, film literature has been designated RC8. The course needs additional information and it's asking you to submit core course documentation for review. This decision has been rendered within the last 60 days, so the upload feature has the attach link here. We'll go ahead and click that. So for the selected course title, Film Lit, there's one opportunity to upload core course documents. I recommend that you're uploading them in PDF form. Sometimes people try to send us Google links and then they expire. We don't have access, so I would recommend against that. And we ask for 6 documents, but there's only space to upload 5. So hopefully you can combine 1 or 2. But in this area, this is where we ask you to upload the following core course documentation for the course title listed above. We need a course description, a detailed outline of course content, a flowchart showing where the course falls in terms of broader pathways within the department, and then samples or copies of 3 major assessments or assignments. To view examples of required documentation, we have a link here. And then there's also some special directions for submitting ESL courses and courses offered exclusively for students with education impacting disabilities. So if you're uploading core course documents for those courses, make sure to upload this. But also, I'm going to have somebody insert in the chat. There's 2 new resources for you related to uploading core course documentation for review for these types of courses. So now we are going to choose our files to upload for review. In this instance, remember we have film literature, and I will update the course outline, the course description and flowchart, as well as the assignments and assessments. Then we'll scroll down, and if there's any information, or if this course is related to a specific prospective student athlete, we would like for you to click this and provide the student athlete's information below so that we can speed up the initial eligibility certification process. After you've done this, you will go down and hit submit and follow through with the authorization tasks. So before we move on, I just wanted to provide a quick list of the required core course documentation. I know Brett mentioned this earlier that we recommend that a high school's primary secondary contact does have familiarity with curriculum, but we also know that that's not always the case. So this is something that you could potentially hand off to a teacher. It includes the list of required documents. And there are 2 tips or 2 things that I would like to bring your attention to. First, with the course description, the outline, and the assessments, it's important to select documentation that clearly demonstrates what students are expected to know and do by the end of the course. So in the example before, film literature, it would not be helpful to only upload a list of films that students will be watching in the course. What we need is a unit by unit outline that outlines what students are expected to know and do at the end of each unit of study. The second tip that I have for you is to select 3 major assessments that you think best demonstrate the rigor of the course. Oftentimes, I think sometimes it's easy for schools to pick the most common assessments that they have the easiest access to. But if I could give you one piece of advice, it would be to pick the assessments that demonstrate higher level thinking the best. Another thing that I would like to bring up before we move on to the other tabs is information related to how core course decisions are rendered. We render decisions using the High School Review Committee Policies and Procedures, which is a publicly available document. And approved core courses meet core course legislation, and the criteria for review noted in specific disciplines for course contents and rigor of assignments. This is outlined in Appendix A, which I've attached below, of the High School Review Committee policies and procedures. And we render decisions for courses submitted on title alone and for courses submitted with documents. We render those decisions using this High School Review Committee policies and procedures. So anytime we designate a course potentially as not approved, the reason code will directly tie back to the HSR CP&P. The next two tabs that I want to bring your attention to are new this year, and I'm really excited about them. The first is the Submission History tab. This is where you can review your core course submission history for titles submitted for review. You'll be able to see the title that was submitted, the decision that was rendered, and then on the right-hand column, you should see if documentation was uploaded or not uploaded for review. It's important to note that this is not your official core course list. So make sure that when you're advising prospective student athletes that you're directing them to that core course list, which is the official record. The next tab is the decision email tab. This is where you can review core course decision emails that have been sent to your primary or secondary contacts. Some serve as notifications letting you know that your core course submission has been processed, while others contain important information. For example, if you have uploaded core course documentation for Film Lit and we didn't get everything, we might redesignate the course as additional information required. In that email, we would include the information that we would need from you. And the same can be said for if we designate a course as not approved after reviewing core course documents. So sometimes these are notifications, but at other times they have important information. And the ones that are just serving as notifications should be collapsed in your inbox, while the ones having customized tailored information should be expanded for you to review. All right, now I'm going to hand it off to Brett, who's going to follow up with submitting fee waivers.
Thanks, Bridget. So prospective student athletes who register with the Eligibility Center may be eligible to have their registration fee waived due to any type of economic hardship. So if a student is unable to pay the registration fee for their account, there is an option in the payment section to indicate that they would be eligible to receive a fee waiver. If a student requests a fee waiver, you'd be able to log in and view your fee waiver report to both review and potentially approve that fee waiver request for the student. It's important to note that if a student meets any fee waiver criteria and has not attended a U.S. high school, so we're thinking international only students or students who were homeschooled, if those students request a fee waiver, there would be a task assigned to your account or to their account with the fee waiver confirmation form. But if those students have indicated attendance at a U.S. high school, it would be the U.S. high school that would be required to approve that fee waiver on their behalf. We do have a tutorial as well that we can drop into the chat. But with that said, what we can do now is dive right into the portal and walk you through how to view fee waiver requests as well as approve fee waiver requests. So we're in the high school portal. What we can do to review those fee waiver requests is select the Submit a Fee Waiver tab. And this will take us to our search page where we can enter either specific search criteria or general search criteria. We advise that it's best practice just to search by graduation year only. That way it populates a list of students from that specific graduation year who have requested a fee waiver. So for this example, what I'll do is go ahead and select the 2024 graduation year and select Go Search. And that will pull up, like I said, a list of students from that graduation class who have indicated attendance at your high school and have requested a fee waiver. So I see that we have one student here who has requested a fee waiver. And if you are curious as to what the fee waiver requirements are, you can click this hyperlink here and that will take you to one of our very useful and informative eGain articles. And what we can do is just drop a link to those requirements in the chat as well. But if I want to, if I've confirmed that, yes, the student has met fee waiver requirements, what I can do to approve the fee waiver for the student is simply select to the left of the ID here. I will verify that the student has met the criteria for our EC fee waiver requirements. And then I'll just add my contact information. So I'll go ahead and input that now. And that phone number that I typed, just for your reference, is the direct dial number to our dedicated line for high schools. We will share that later as well, but that is the number that you would want to contact if you have any questions. So now that I've selected the student, I've verified, I've entered my contact information, I can click the submit a fee waiver for the student. And what will appear here is essentially a receipt, just indicating that, yes, that request has gone through. And what we can do a little bit later in this webinar is show you how to review previously reviewed and approved fee waiver requests. Next in the high school portal navigation, we will get into the high school info tab. So on this high school info tab, you can do any of the following. You can update your contact info, change your password, you can view or update your PIN. Your PIN, your 5-digit PIN is required when you reach out to our dedicated line for high school. So that is important to keep handy. You can also view grading scales on file. You can update team info, formally affiliate with or disassociate from a team, view team submission status, and then you can also view account and program review emails. The team affiliation may not be applicable to your high school. If your high school is associated with a non-scholastic team, I would advise reaching out to our dedicated line for high schools for assistance, and we can walk you through the process of formally submitting that non-scholastic affiliation with your high school. That is required from a recruiting perspective, specifically for evaluations of live athletic activity. So again, if you think that's applicable to your high school, feel free to reach out to our dedicated line for high schools and we'll be happy to assist you. I will say too that the Eligibility Center often reaches out via email proactively to request student-specific information from primary and secondary contacts. When we're doing those type of projects, primarily we're reaching out via email. So it's very important to keep your contact information up to date and accurate, just so when we are doing those proactive projects, we know that we're reaching out to the correct individuals and the primary and secondary contacts are receiving those messages. Some of them are timely. So again, it's just important that you keep your contact information up to date, just so we know that you're receiving those types of emails. With that said, what we can do now is dive into the portal just for a walkthrough of the high school info tab. Back in the high school portal, we can select the high school info tab. And once we do that, you'll see a drop down of all those functions that you can do within this section. So I'll highlight a few important ones. Obviously, number one is the update contact info. Here is where you would, if you are a new contact, the former primary secondary contact has left or is no longer in the role. Here is how you would log in, or once you're logged in, here is how you would update that contact information. So again, if I needed to make any updates to the primary contact information or the secondary contact information, I can do that here. Again, you'll just want to make sure that that information is up to date and accurate, just so timely or communication specific to either your high school's account or specific current or former prospective student athletes is going to the correct individuals and you're receiving that information. So if I did need to make updates to this contact information, I could do that here. Going back to the high school info tab, if I wanted to change my password, I would do that by selecting this link here. If I want to view or update my PIN, I can do that here again. As I said, a PIN is required when contacting our dedicated line for high school, so important to keep that PIN handy. If you ever need to update it, right now my high school's current PIN is 12345. If I wanted to update that, I can simply do so by adding my new PIN here. Again, it's 5 digits. Oops, I want to make sure they match. And I can update my PIN. And then you just, again, get that confirmation that the PIN has been updated. Another important section here in this tab is the grading scales tab. If your high school has multiple grading scales on file that differ, between academic years, that's where you would view this information. So just from a historical perspective, in terms of what grading scales are being used for students' academic certifications, you'd be able to view that information here. And if you do need to update your high school's grading scale, or if you have a weighted scale that currently isn't on file, we do have a link on our resources page that would walk you through that process. And what we can do as well is drop that in the chat. Another important piece in this high school info tab is the account and program email section. So any email that is specific to either your account review or a program that has been reviewed at your high school, that information would be stored here. So if you are a new contact and you're just sort of trying to catch up to see, what programs have been reviewed previously, if any program was not approved, you'd be able to see why that program was not approved. So we can scroll down and we see, again, any email that has been sent specific to a program review. So previously, our high school has had BG Prep Academy. That was obviously part of our account review process. So we see based on that review, our account is cleared. If we had any type of programs that needed to be reviewed, so online program, for example, those information regarding those reviews could be found here. So if I want to see why, for example, BG Virtual, a non-traditional program, was reviewed and not approved, I can click Show More. And again, this would have been the email that was sent to the primary and secondary contacts at the time, explaining the rationale for the decision that was made regarding this program. Next, we'll talk about the Tasks tab. So our high school review team routinely assigns tasks to high school accounts and district accounts, requesting additional information needed to process students' academic certifications. So anytime, for example, there's a designation that would appear on a transcript, if we don't know what that designation means, what we would do is assign a task to the high school or the district just for clarification as to what that information is meant to represent. So on the Tasks tab, you can review any open or completed tasks that have been assigned to your account. Anytime a task is assigned, the primary, secondary contacts would receive a task notification email. So again, it's very important to keep your contact information up to date and accurate, just so you're receiving those emails and you know that a task has been assigned to your account. But again, if a task is assigned, it's best to try to complete that as soon as you can, just because there could be a current or former student impacted by a lack of response. So in terms of navigating the Tasks tab, what we can do now is hop back into the high school portal and walk you through that process. So back in the high school portal, if we would like to view open tasks or tasks that have or were previously assigned and completed, we can select the Tasks tab. And again, this will take us to any open task that's currently outstanding in your account, as well as any task previously assigned and completed by your high school. So currently we see that, yes, we do have one open task. It looks like our high school review team is requesting specific information about a course designation. So what I can do in the message column, I can click Show More, and we can see, okay, additional information is needed about this OLP designation appearing on the high school's transcript. And we can see that this is impacting at least one current or former student from the high school. So in order to respond to this task, what we can do is in the response column, select click here to upload documents. And this would take us to our upload page. Again, the information that's being requested in the task, once again, is just highlighted on this page. So best practice would be to copy this information and paste it into a Word document, and then address each of those bullet points, just so you know you're providing all of the information that's being requested. If not all information is required is provided, or if additional clarification is needed, once you respond to this task and our high school review team reviews your response, there could be an additional task assigned again if there was additional clarification required, or if not all of the information requested was provided. So I've done this previously. I have my response ready to go. So I can scroll down and select Choose File. I will then locate that document on my desktop. I have that here, Task Designation Response. I'll open that up. I'll select Upload. Yes, I'm sure. And you will get this confirmation that your documents have been successfully uploaded. Anytime you've completed a task, the typical service standard for review is about 10 business days. Our high school review team can complete that review well within that 10 business days, but there is typically a 10 business day service standard. So during that time, you just want to keep an eye on your email, an eye on your account, because additional information may be requested. So what we can do Next, if we needed to, we could go back to the tasks page. But what we'll do here is continue on with our portal navigation. And next, we will talk about our student reports. So on the student reports tab, you can search student details, as well as review previously submitted fee waivers, like I had mentioned earlier. So within the search student details tab, this report would populate a list of all students who have registered with the Eligibility Center and who have indicated attendance at your high school. What you'll be able to do on this page, you'll be able to drill down, similar to what you saw in the fee waiver section. You'll be able to drill down and search specific criteria, but like I said previously, we recommend searching by graduation year only because that would populate a list of students from your high school who have registered with the Eligibility Center, indicated attendance, and indicated that they would graduate in that academic year. If for whatever reason you're unable to locate a student, that may be because of one of two things. Either that student has registered with the Eligibility Center and has not indicated attendance at your high school. It could be that that student has created a profile account. And then actually one more item, the student may have just reported the wrong graduation year. So in those instances, you can leave all of the search criteria blank, hit go search, and that would generate a list of every student from your high school who has registered with the Eligibility Center and has indicated attendance at your high school. Another important feature here in the search student details report is the ability to upload transcripts. And once we get into the live view of the portal, the walkthrough, we'll actually upload a transcript for a current and former student. Like I said, you can upload transcripts. So we do, in order for an academic certification to be attempted, we would need a transcript from each high school that a student attends. Typically, we request or we suggest that transcripts be uploaded after the student completes their 6th semester of high school. So they've completed their junior year and are heading into their senior year. If we receive transcripts from each high school that a student has attended, and that student has been activated to an NCAA school's institutional request list, we would be able to attempt a preliminary certification for those students. So again, we do advise that transcripts be uploaded at least by the conclusion of the student's 6th semester, but you are able to upload transcripts at any time, so you can keep that in mind as well. I will note here that transcripts, again, are required from each high school that a student attends. For former students who are appearing on your report, you are able to upload a transcript for a former student. If for whatever reason you have no record of that student attending your high school, or that student didn't attend long enough to earn greater credit at your high school, you may upload a letter in place of a transcript just explaining that. And like I mentioned earlier, within this tab, you'd be able to view the fee waiver report. And what you can do, you can run this report to review previously submitted fee waivers. And with that said, we'll get back into a live walkthrough of the portal. So we can select the student reports tab, and in the dropdown, the first option is that search student details. So we'll click there. We will search by graduation year only. So we'll select 2024 and hit go search. And now we see a list of students from our high school who have registered with the Eligibility Center and have indicated attendance at your high school. So just a few things to note here, these different columns. The fee issue column would indicate whether a student has a fee issue. So previously in the demonstration, we approved a fee waiver for this student here. It can take sometimes half an hour or up to a few hours for that to update once you've submitted that fee waiver. Your account updates when our system refreshes, and our system refreshes every few hours. So if you submit a fee waiver for a student and you see this here, no cause for concern. You just need to wait until that our system refreshes. And again, that takes place every few hours. The Your High School Transcript Received column, that would just indicate whether or not we've received a transcript from your high school. So you'll see for this student here, we're still missing a transcript from our high school. For this student just below, for Max, we see in this column that, yes, we've received a transcript from this high school. However, you want to pay special attention to the all high school transcript received column. So for this student, it shows received in this column, not received in this column. So if we're wondering why those two things are different, what we can do is select the student's ID, and that's actually going to populate a window and tell us what schools this student has actually attended. So it looks like this student has attended multiple high schools, and we're missing a transcript from their former school. And that brings me to a very important note here. So your high school has the ability to upload transcripts for a different high school. So for this student, I can upload, if I have an official copy of that transcript that our school received when the student transferred into the school, we'd be able to upload that transcript even though it doesn't belong to our school. If you do that, we just ask that you reach out to our dedicated line for high schools to let us know so that we can recode that transcript to the correct high school. So again, you can upload a transcript for a different high school. You just need to notify us when you do that so that the transcript can be recoded. So now we can actually take you through the process of uploading a transcript for a student. So from our high school, I see that Brett is missing a transcript. So what I can do is select that student's ID. I can scroll down, and just like we did with the task, with the task response, we'll select choose file to locate that student's transcript within our documents. I see the BG Prep Academy transcript is here, so I'll open that up and I will select upload. And once you've successfully uploaded a transcript, you'll receive a message here at the top just indicating that, yes, that transcript has been successfully uploaded. So on the student reports page right now, there's, to be honest, very limited information that's provided, and that's something that we're well aware of and we're working on. So within, hopefully by the end of this year, we will have some pretty exciting updates that will go live within your high school portal, specifically the ability to view students' academic certifications if they've been attempted, as well as any task that has been assigned to a student's account. What you'll also be able to do is if you are uploading a transcript for a different high school, you'd be able to select the high school for which you're uploading a transcript for. That way you won't have to call us when you do that. But again, those are exciting updates that we're looking forward to being released later this year. In the meantime, just want to reemphasize, if you are uploading a transcript for a different high school, that you give us a call so that that transcript can be recoded. So also in the student reports tab is that fee waiver report. So if we want to get into the fee waiver report, we can select that. And what this does is just allow us to review any fee waivers that have been submitted within a designated time period. So we'll just search for the last 12 months, and we can see any fee waiver that has been submitted for a student on this report. So again, we just submitted the fee waiver for this student recently. The fee waiver is currently showing as pending. That will refresh once our system refreshes. And again, that happens or takes place every few hours. The next section of the portal is the My Documents section. So on the My Documents tab, you'd be able to review any document uploaded in response to a task. You'd also be able to review any core course document that was uploaded as part of the core course review process. So with that said, we can get back to a live look of the portal. Back in the portal, we're here in the My Documents tab. And as mentioned, we can review any document that has been uploaded in response to or as part of the core course review process. Or we can upload or view any document that was provided in response to a task. So these columns are collapsible. So if I want to focus in on the core course documents, I can just expand this section. And if I wanted to, if I was a new contact, and I wanted to see what was reviewed previously for a course, I'd be able to locate that course here. And in the document leak section, I can click on that show document, and that's going to populate the document that was actually uploaded as part of the review process for that course. And you can do that for task documents as well. So we see that the task that we responded to earlier in this demonstration regarding the OLP designation, if I wanted to view that response, I'd be able to click show document, and that would pull up the document that was uploaded in response to the task. Unfortunately, at this time, you wouldn't be able to view previously uploaded transcripts for students. That's another feature that we're hoping to make available later this year. But again, currently you would not be able to review transcripts that have been uploaded. But TBD, we're hoping again that that will be an exciting update that we're able to share later on this year. Our last tab in the high school portal is the account log tab. And on the account log tab, you can review any time-stamped information regarding when you responded to a task, when you submitted a course title for review, when you uploaded course docs, or when you uploaded transcripts for specific students. So if you ever have any question as to when something was completed, you can visit that account log tab, and that's going to store every item that's taken place, any action item that's taken place in your account. So it's essentially just a one-stop shop to see what occurred, what the event was, and then when that event occurred. When that event occurred. But that was our high school portal navigation. So with that being said, what I can do is throw it back to Amber, and she's going to close things out for us. Amber?
Thank you so much, Brett. And now that Brett and Bridget have gone through high school portal navigation, let's talk resources. So first on this slide, you're going to see a QR code. So if you have your phone next to you, go ahead and scan that. This is how you can subscribe to the NCAA Eligibility Center high school newsletter. This will send directly from the EC to you to give you timely updates and reminders. Also listed here, you'll see our most comprehensive resource for high school counselors. That's our guide for high school counselors. This covers everything that Brett and Bridget have gone over today in even more detail, and also provides some really cool screenshots so that you and your colleagues can navigate through the process. We also have listed our guide for the college-bound student athlete, and just like the guide for the high school counselors, this is a nice guide for everything student related. We have a lot of parents who read this guide, and of course I use it to help answer questions that student athletes ask us on social media all of the time. But if you find that this guide is just a bit too thick and your students aren't reading it all the way through, we've got you covered. There is an initial eligibility flyer that is a simple front and back sheet of one piece of paper that you can print and hand to your students. And that's going to give them the basics of everything they're going to need to know for their own initial eligibility. Speaking of great opportunities for your student athletes, we are hosting a free initial eligibility webinar for students. So please scan this QR code here with your phone and share this message to your students. This webinar will be Wednesday, May 8th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's okay if they can't attend live. Just like you, if they register for that webinar, they will receive a recording of the webinar as well as a PDF of the slide deck with clickable links. We're now going to take a few questions live here, so Brett and Bridget, get ready. But if you have any questions, please use the Q&A function to ask us these directly. Of course, we have Brett and Bridget, but we also have a full staff standing by ready and eager to answer your question directly. And while we do this, if you've got your phone sitting next to you, go ahead and get that out, keep that out. We have a few QR codes coming in these next slides. This first one is a QR to our survey. It's a quick 2 or 3 minute question survey, just letting us know how we did today so that we can hopefully improve on future webinars. And with that, our first question, Brett, I'm going to come to you for this question. This one is, am I able to upload a transcript for a different high school?
Yes. So if you have a student who transferred to your high school and you received an official copy of their transcript from their previous high school, you are able to upload that through the portal. We just ask when you do that, you give our dedicated line for high schools a call just to notify us so that we can recode that transcript to the correct high school.
Thank you, Brett. And Bridget, I'm going to come to you for this next question. It's, how do I know if my school is a part of a district?
That is an important question because if your school is part of a district, you also need to confirm if your school is part of an NCAA Eligibility Center account that is registered as a district. And that contact information is not available externally, which I recognize that is very challenging, but a fix is in the works. So to find out if your school is in a district, you would need to call customer service. My best piece of advice is that if you are being pinged to do something as a primary, secondary contact, it falls within your purview and to go ahead and complete the request.
Thank you, Bridget. And that customer service number that she noted is on the coming slide, so get ready for that. Brett, I'm going to come to you with this next question. This one says, why am I not able to find a student on my student report?
So it could be one of several reasons. Most likely, the student either has registered with the Eligibility Center, but did not indicate attendance at your high school. So what they would need to do is log into their account and add your high school as a high school attended. They also maybe potentially just created a profile account. If that's the case, they would need to transition their account to a certification type account. Or maybe they did register correctly. They have a certification account. They indicated attendance at your high school, and they just listed the wrong graduation year. So could be any one of those three reasons.
Thank you, Brett. Bridget, coming to you for this one. This is, why is AP Computer Science approved at another local high school and not mine?
Okay, this one's a little bit interesting. It's likely for this specific title that the course was incorrectly submitted in additional. A lot of people have a misconception that the additional discipline is filled with elective titles, when really the titles that should be submitted for review in the additional discipline are limited to world language, comparative religion, and philosophy. So with this specific title, if it were to be submitted in additional, it wouldn't be able to be approved. So I would check and make sure that you've submitted it in either math or science. But this brings up a bigger question that sometimes schools will have courses listed as approved at their school, but we're asking for additional information at your school. And it's important to know that courses can vary greatly from school to school, from state to state. So if we ask for additional information or render different decisions, it's because we're using the information that we have available. And I would always suggest uploading core course documentation for review if you'd like to contest that decision.
Thank you so much, Bridget. And while we get to a few more questions, of course, you're going to see our social media handles up on your screen. So we are currently on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, as of last year, YouTube. So if you have students coming to you with questions on which account type they need or how to request final amateurism certification, we have videos on that now that you can just send them a quick link, hopefully making your job a little easier and their lives a little smoother. So go ahead and give us a follow, give us a like on our social media. And Brett, I'm going to come to you with this next question. This question is, am I able to view previously uploaded transcripts?
Unfortunately, no, not at this time. You would have access to documentation that was uploaded in response to or as part of the core course review process, or a document that was uploaded in response to a task. But at this time, you would not have access to previously uploaded transcripts. That is something that that is a feature that we hope to make available in the future. But at this time, unfortunately, no, you wouldn't have that visibility.
Thank you, Brett. We're going to take 3 more questions. Bridget, this next one is for you. Will I be notified if additional information is requested for a course?
Good question. So in some instances, a task may be respond, but you might not always get a heads up when the portal opens for uploading core course documentation for review. So that's why it's important after you've submitted your core course list updates and those updates have been processed, that you're checking your core course list after you've received notification that your submission has been processed. And then if you see the courses in that additional information required section, don't worry. There's that reason code that will remind you, and there's directions there that will guide you to upload core course documentation for review. But you will not get an email saying the portal is opened for core course doc review. So make sure that you're always referencing your core course list.
Thanks, Bridget. This next question I can take. This one says, will you make this available to give to our district's counselors? If so, when? Of course, yes. This webinar is recorded and will be available in the coming days to everyone who registered, so you can just give them a forward. It will also be posted on our YouTube channel, on our high school portal resources page, and of course will be listed in the next high school newsletter. Last question we have, Brett, I'm going to come to you on this one. It's a great one to end with. Who do we contact with questions?
Yes, so if you have any questions, you can contact our dedicated line for high schools. That line is available Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. And the number that you would contact is 877-622-2321. And just an important note when you are calling, if you do have specific questions about your high school's account or a student's account, you need to have that 5-digit PIN. So make sure you're keeping that handy.
Again, thank you all for joining us today. If you ever need our customer service team, just know we are here to help. So this last QR code here, promise last one, if you still have your phone out, if you scan this, what it's going to do is save the NCAA Eligibility Center directly to your cell phone as a contact. So if you ever need us, we're right there already saved. You don't have to hunt down our number. Of course, as we've mentioned before, we will email a recording of today's webinar to everyone who registered in the coming days. So if you think your colleagues would benefit from hearing this webinar, you can just hit that forward button and send us their way. Again, my name is Amber Viles, and on behalf of my colleagues Brett Gordon and Bridget Goss, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to support you and your students as things change and questions arise. Thank you, and be safe.